Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped. Something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I'm so happy to hear about your December and your trip and everything. It's so good.
Yeah.
Are you just still? Is it just still glowing?
Yes, it is.
So great. It's I can even feel it in the in our exchanges, our brief exchanges about it.
In my lack of interaction on Discord.
Well, that too, right? You're just walking on air or something. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yep. Feeling pretty good.
You're gonna go back soon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you thinking of maybe moving?
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost definitely.
Oh my God. I'm so happy for you. And did you meet people that you like? And
yeah, I met a lot of people I like.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
It's so well deserved. And you just found your way to your homeland somehow. Just very cool.
Saying that. Yeah, feels good.
I may have told you, but I had this friend in college who was from this very proper background, and she was in a sorority, and she was Southern, and she was kind of trying to make that work for her. And she just hated fraternity parties and all of it. And she was just filled with anguish. And then one day she went to a sushi restaurant and she saw a bento box, and she was like, this is how everything should be organized in life. And I want to go where this is. And
I kind of feel that way about Vietnam, where
she just moved to Japan and never moved back. She learned the language. She married a Japanese guy and was like, this is where I'm really from.
Yeah, there's so much there that just makes so much sense. And it's the simplest things like chairs and beds. And it's we don't even have chairs like this. We don't have beds like this, it's such a different world.
Right.
And it's just really beautiful.
And it feels like things are supposed to be, or they were supposed to be all along.
Yeah, it does.
I'm so glad.
The best part is the people and just how loving they are. I know I've told you some, but it's just in the air everywhere.
Yeah. What more did you notice this time?
Oh, I can't remember what all I've told you already, but I don't know. I'm just recalling maybe I texted you this one, but I'm sitting at a coffee shop and there's an old couple beside me, and her foot is in his lap, her
Mm-hmm.
bare foot, and he's like massaging her foot. And,
Yeah.
they're in their 70s. And that's like, no one's batting an eye at that. That's totally normal.
Oh, nice.
And you see that everywhere. You see like old couples who are smiling and laughing and riding on a bicycle together, or he's right here, he's pumping and she's sitting on the, they have all these modified bikes, and
Yeah.
she's riding along and she's laughing, and you just see that everywhere. Just so much affection and love between people.
That's really amazing. And I love the sound of that. And
or like I'll go to a gas station, and it's like, oh, at this gas station, they also have like a bunch of birds and ducks and bonsai trees and 10 little boys playing badminton. And it's just like, yeah, that's about right. That's just totally normal.
That's great. I'm so glad. 10 little boys playing badminton, of course.
Yeah, and they all want to come up and talk to me.
Oh my God. That's so great. Do you feel like you could learn the language?
That is going to be a challenge.
Just like some Rosetta Stone, or I don't know, like a conversation group or something.
I'm good at languages. I was good at Spanish and other kind of Romance languages or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's
really hard.
It's tonal. So the tone changes the meaning. So you have to learn all that. And then there's vowels and stuff that I can say 50 times and I'm still not pronouncing it right. Just a sound that's made with the throat. And it's like, I can't make that. So that's kind of tough.
This is maybe a stupid question, but does anyone speak French, or is French around at all, or is it just like in the cuisine? And
I wouldn't necessarily know. Maybe there's some French around, but they want to speak English, or some do. The people under like 25 speak English to some degree.
You'll figure it out. It's so, I mean, it's such wonderful news. It's really good.
Yeah, it feels good.
And also, you knew what you didn't want, and that helped refine what you do want, and you were able to recognize it and go toward it. I mean, it's like very cool. Lots of courage.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll let you know as I know more.
Okay, about your moves. Avoiding the Discord, just as the Discord kicks off. Maybe it's also because people are like waiting less for you to come in and solve everything for us. So they're like creating their own solutions or something. I haven't looked at it very much, but it seems pretty lively.
Yeah, project's going good. I kind of got lazy about publishing, but I'll get back on that soon. And still getting as much interest from new people reaching out all the time. So
wow,
happy about that.
That's so cool. It's so cool. That's great. That's all really, really great.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Of course.
Thanks for being happy for me.
I think about it all the time. I've been happy. I mean, since I first heard from a little bit from you while you were there, that, And I do keep me posted on any other decisions you make.
I will. So, ready to turn around and talk about you?
Yeah. Not really, but sort of. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Parts, any that you'd like to get to know, change your relationship with?
I mean, I was sort of anxious about this question because I really don't know the answer, and I can't even
That's
find
fine.
like arrows pointing anywhere.
That's great. That's fine.
Okay.
A lot of ways in to meeting parts. And
Yeah.
of course, we don't have to do anything. So just want to always remind people that there's nowhere that we have to go.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my system likes that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just had a nice call with Olivia yesterday, and she requested one of her 5-minute meditations mid call, and it's like, yes.
That's really good. That's cool when that happens. I like people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could flag a time for a break. I don't know. Yeah, maybe
Sure.
maybe a minute in like 25 minutes. What do you think of that?
I'm setting the timer now. Good idea. So other ways to start are to just talk, just say what's up, anything that's been going on for you, any extreme emotions you've been feeling, anything.
So, I'm not sure. My father went into hospice, which I think I told you. And that's been just unimaginably rough, not just the emotional part, but just a lot of practical demands and needs from him and my mother. And it's it's about like a 7-hour drive from where I am most of the time. And so that's been rough. And then independently, the kid of mine who's in college is having some trouble. And my heart goes out to him. And then just emotional trouble. And then there's a little bit of tension with my husband, or more than that, about money or kind of practical issues in our lives that are sort of, I don't know, like falling to me to take care of. And I'm sort of feeling a combination of resentment and being taken for granted. I sort of, sometimes I can start to just feel like I'm everybody's meal ticket or something. I don't know. And that's a combination of feeling sorry for myself and, but also kind of arrogant. Like everyone has to come to me, and I'm like the bank or advice or, and that feels, I don't know what. And I think after the holidays, I just needed time to myself. And as soon as I got that, things started to become better, and I kind of touched down on that ground we've talked about that's just like filled with bugs and dirt, and that felt really good. But yeah, I was pretty out of my mind actually with just kind of practical things falling apart, that I felt like I'm just sort of in this mode of like, give me that, let me solve that, let me get that, let me figure that out. How did you get yourself in this crisis? Kind of feel like a parent to like a lot of adolescent addicts or something. I don't know, which it like isn't the case, but just feels like everybody's having all these problems of their own making or something. And I just also, my dad is good at problem solving, and also he's just really loving and supportive. And with him, in this mode of hospice, I feel less like I have a backstop or someone that I can work through kind of life's problems with in a way that makes sense to me, because he's more apt to take care of me than to need me to take care of him, although there's some of that too. So I think that's where I am, but I don't want to minimize the way that I think it was over New Year's, whenever that is, like a few days ago. I was really, like, I don't think since I've known you that I've been this out of control, like yelling "fuck you" and slamming the door to a car door. So not my finest moment. And I maybe just because I'm so spent from that, I'm feeling like I don't have any problems or no parts are up, because it's less that I'm in self energy and more than like many parts just feel sort of exhausted and wrung out, like they don't have a lot more fight in them because,
Okay.
But I mean, I was in the mode that I was like, oh, I thought I left this behind. I didn't even know I had this absolute fury setting, except, in the context of parts, not in the context of like making trouble for myself in the world.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for sharing all that. A lot of parts.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Is the feeling of being out of my mind with practical things, is that the same that kind of creates the out of control yelling?
Let's see. It sort of builds up after I feel like I've just been cleaning up messes and, and as soon as people are out of their troubles, they tend to kind of forget how much I stopped everything to help them. Like just all the stuff that for whatever reason I like to do, which is like, can you get me a passport in one day or whatever? I have to leave for India or, that kind of thing. And as soon as it's done, I feel like there's like, my son will like just unload about something going on in his life. Then he'll need something fixed that takes a lot. And then when it's done, he doesn't even remember, and I don't really take it out on him. But when my husband does that, it's a little more, angry making, like, just like losing like the registration and the license and his license and whatever, like things insurance needs to be paid suddenly, and like people haven't been called back and all that stuff. Anyway, the point is like turns into resentment and then kind of blows up later. So I don't know if it's the same thing. The blowing up is the taking responsibility for things like that is basically the Olympian just kind of over functioning. And then there's this like silent scream, sad, horrible feeling that, wow, no one is noticing this. And it's like incredibly costly to me in all ways. Just like, money and emotions and everything else.
Okay.
That's the story I tell myself, at least.
The story you tell yourself is
just this over functioning thing. That's what it feels like. Like,
right. Yeah. Over functioning, taking responsibility, and then the resentment of not being noticed.
Yes. Yes. Not being noticed. And yeah.
Okay. Do you have a clearer sense of which of these parts you'd like to work with first or needs your attention the most?
I don't feel like I can see it very clearly. I mean, I like I guess I can blend a little. I think maybe I am a bit blended with the just harried, I'm doing everything part right now. Like,
yes,
it feels sort of superficial, you know, and it feels sort of like arrogant. Like, no one can understand the hard, the challenges of my existence and all the things I'm doing for everyone. It just feels very like that. And like, it doesn't have a real emotional quality to it because it looks down on emotions. It's like everyone's just like a pool of incompetence. Like,
the call has dropped. Everyone's a pool of incompetence. Taking notes. Okay. Zoom. James, check in. Relaxed, a little tired. Feel towards caller, welcoming. Welcome back.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. You were talking about this part that looks down on emotions and everyone else is a pool of incompetence.
Yes. And it's just like watching the clock to be like, I've got so much to do and I'm feeling very self-important and intoxicated by how important it all is. And that doesn't, I don't know. It just is not,
You want to start with that one? If it's feeling blended?
Yeah, I think that's good. Like, for instance, when I knew that we had this call, I was like, I just feel myself to be very superficial. Like, I was like, what? Exiles? Like, I was like, I'd much rather, this have been a conversation where like you were telling me about your trip and I could just sort of be on the receiving end or be like the wise person in the conversation who doesn't have any problems, something like that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yes, let's get to know this part a lot let's get to know this part because it's pretty familiar. And
okay.
And I think it's different. It's a bit different from the Olympian.
Okay.
But it might be a version.
Yeah. Doing everything, arrogant. Nobody understands, looks down on emotions, intoxicated by importance.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. How do you notice it in your body when it shows up?
Definitely in my eyes. Just like predator eyes. Like, gotta get it done.
Okay.
Why is everyone being so whiny and incompetent?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel towards it right now?
A little bit embarrassed by how it is being, like how it shows up in the world. That's just so so like, let's get shit done. Let's be like a field marshal for, I don't know, a little embarrassed, I guess, by it.
Okay. Can we welcome the embarrassed?
I thank you. Yes. Welcome the embarrassed part. I just like,
yes.
it's exactly not who I really would want to bring to IFS, a part that I would want to bring to IFS. But so, yeah. So the embarrassment is like, maybe all the soft sides of me have already come out, and all I have left is like this brittle, kind of controlling person and part. And we're not going to get that far with her. That's what the embarrassment says.
Okay, so its concern is about how far we could get with the part?
Yeah, that it's so superficial and so brittle, this one, and it doesn't have any real good dimensions to it.
Okay.
So that's the embarrassment. And then the blending seems to be draining away a little bit.
Yeah, okay. And it's concerned also about like what you bring to IFS.
Yeah. Like not, maybe there's not, just, it feels like actually kind of boring, like a suburban mom sort of thing.
It doesn't have depth. The part thinks it won't have any depth.
Yeah, there's like no romance, no interesting history, just like someone that's like driving the carpool and has a lot of just like random shit to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel towards the embarrassed one?
A little blended, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, yeah, a little blended.
Okay. You could ask it for space. You could ask it to notice you.
Yeah, I got some space.
Okay.
The embarrassed one is just basically like a blushing emoji of like, yeah.
Okay. So it makes sense to you why this part's embarrassed?
It does. Yeah, it does. Okay. For sure.
Yeah, let it know that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge that, if it's right about anything that it has to say, if it's right about another part having no depth or no extensive history, that's also okay. We'll find out, but that would be good information to have also.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Does it need anything else from you in order to give space to let us go to that other one?
I guess it wants me to hear out the idea that while this part, whatever we call it, is like a reasonable face to the world, it's like the kind of thing that I don't want to bring to IFS. So like in IFS, you want to push forward, or I do, or whatever. The embarrassed part thinks that a person should push forward like very vulnerable parts, like that have all this rich history. And in the world, you lead with these other faces that are more superficial. But now I'm crossing, like, I don't know, the equivalent of like sobbing over my sad mom part in the middle of a meeting. Now I'm bringing this like meeting persona into like a business meeting, a meeting persona into this. And that's where the embarrassment comes in. It's just like inappropriate, like read the room kind of thing. Yeah. So anyway, the embarrassed part wants me to hear that. And now I do.
Great. And the room is yours to create.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I believe that.
All the parts are welcome. they're all connected. There aren't any parts that are just total, islands to themselves.
Right. That's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about islands. But yes, that's right. I mean, I think this part is not very likable, the overfunctioning part. Yeah, because it has like a certain amount of impatience and even contempt for other people. So that's also something that the embarrassed part doesn't want you, for example, to see.
Yeah, I bet I'll like it.
What did you say?
I bet I will like it.
That's true. You can like a lot of seemingly unlikable parts. Yeah. Okay.
But I get it. I get why that would be something to be concerned about.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't like it, if we didn't like it, I can see why that would be. That would feel like it's not worthy of IFS. We're not.
Right.
We wouldn't really be doing IFS if we had a part that neither of us liked.
Yeah, I think that the whole like trying to understand there are no bad parts is like, well, what about parts that are, a little bit stagey or like don't like, that don't participate in the model in the best way,
Yeah.
So anyway, right? Like
and
there must
I've met a lot of parts that are like fuck IFS, and
right.
I don't have a lot to say to you. I don't want to talk to you, and they're really valuable to know also.
Yeah.
Or they have some job that it doesn't feel like it's very connected to much else going on other than maybe basic survival or something, and so it has that kind of doesn't feel like it has much depth sometimes.
I think it looks around. I think it's really focused on what it sees as the real world and these really serious moves that need to be made, and it looks at all these exiles and it's just like, okay, yes, you guys can talk all you want in these IFS sessions and cry all you want, but at the end of the day, like bills need to be paid, and and oh, look at that, it falls to me to do it. So you guys can go back into your awesome therapy jack off session.
Right.
I will be here doing this other real things.
Okay. All right. Well, the embarrassed part, give us space to learn more about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, embarrassed part. How do you feel towards that one who's saying, why is everyone, the other one, why is everyone whining?
Oh, that part. I'm starting to get like there's a now daylight between us, and I can feel a little bit of amusement bordering on compassion. Like sometimes when the part just said like everyone's jacking off. Like sometimes when I listen to IFS sessions, the parts often talk in this like really vulgar way, like sometimes when I hear myself saying, like thinking like fuck off, I'm like, I am so in a part. Like for whatever reason, self doesn't, or at least for me, self energy doesn't talk that way. So, and when I hear language like that, and in this case, that jack off thing from this guy, I am very confident that there's a distance because I can hear the voice that's different from my own.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So he's just like out there being just like a hairy New York executive, rich person or something. It's like, I have all this on my shoulders and like that. And he seems increasingly distant from me. So there's some compassion there.
increasingly distant just in the past few minutes of noticing him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with that jack off thing. Like I was like, oh, there he is. Like now I have a little cartoon version of him in my head instead of him being me.
Got it. This is a good this is an unblending distance, not a runaway from the conversation distance.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Have you noticed that thing about the swearing and obscenity and stuff? Like, I feel like that's a really, I don't know, that a lot of people's parts have a really aggressive way of talking, like on other calls. And I sort of like it when, kind of seemingly mild-mannered people are in one of their parts and it just like, whatever, starts talking that way. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, parts are extreme.
Yeah, they're extreme. Yeah, so I do feel some sort of compassion and curiosity about this guy.
Okay. Will you let this guy know that you and I are feeling some compassion and curiosity towards him? And see if you can get him to notice you.
Mm-hmm. He's just really worried about time. Like he thinks that if he takes in being noticed, that he'll like miss something on his calendar that he has to do, or that I'm trying to slow him down, or like, but yeah, he's sort of like, I'll get to it. Like he's like, I think he thinks that if he misses one step in the dance or something's all ruined. It's like, it's just a lot to do with time. Like he feels that he has to keep going.
Okay. Well, ironically,
but he knows I'm here. Here.
Okay.
Like it's like almost like he's like on a city street, but he sees that there's like a beach in the distance that he could go to, or like knows is present. And he still has to get stuff done, but he knows that there's a beach over there.
Okay. That 25-minute timer just went off.
All right. Should we do it?
It's up to you. Whatever feels right.
I like it. Let's do it.
Okay. I'll set a timer for a minute.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah, that was good.
Okay. So this part has noticed you?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to ask it what it wants you to know?
It's really, really happy to know that there's like a presence that is functioning at a higher level than it is, that has like better perspective, because it doesn't want to be the top of the hierarchy, or like, it just needs to know that there are a lot of resources somewhere else, that it doesn't have to have he doesn't have to have everything.
And that's what he struggles with, is feeling like he's at the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone comes to him to solve their problems. And while he's seeing that the tasks are necessary, the anger might not be, or the anger that drives everything, like the belief that everyone is incompetent but him. I think he gets that self is very competent in an unangry way.
Right, and that could be, but if he's got this problem with other people's incompetence, we could learn more about what that's like for him.
Yeah. I think that I'm starting to see like, so sort of this part is also very comparison driven. So it's like, he can't enjoy, a job well done unless like he's like confident that someone else did a worse job at it, you know?
Okay.
And that
Okay.
like every move is predicated on someone else making worse decisions or doing things worse. It's like it just feels very angry and petty and mean. And
yeah. How does he feel? Does he feel angry and petty? And how does he feel about feeling that way?
Absolutely mystified. Like he comes out sometimes when I'm like really enjoying like this house that we bought during the pandemic. And for some reason, instead of just being like, what a great, beautiful house this is, he has to be like, look up all the numbers and be sure that the price is going up and be sure that everyone else's house is going down. Like it's so, and that while doing that is like, well, this will really enhance my pleasure. And if the numbers are going right, his pleasure is enhanced. But he's also like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like a good person doesn't need this, doesn't need to be like always winning. And
is that guilt or whatever feeling coming from him, or is that another part that's saying you shouldn't be like that?
I think it might be coming from him. I mean,
you can ask him again. That's kind of how does he feel about his feelings? He has some guilt about it.
He does not want to slow down to think about it. Like he has a niggling sense that that's not the way to feel happiness in the world, or that there's something even like immoral about that. But he tells himself he has too much work to do in order to not feel that or whatever.
But right now in this conversation, does he feel like we're taking up too much of his time just in our examination of that? Okay.
No. I mean, if he really likes the idea of having that competitive part relieved, because honestly, he prides himself on efficiency, and he's getting a lot less done because of the need to win all of these encounters that he makes up in his brain. It's like a lot of make work.
So he cares about productivity, but he sees that this competitive part of himself actually gets in the way of that.
Totally. Just absolutely pointless. And
and again, is he the competitive part?
Yeah. He's the competitive part. And one of the ways that he feels that he wins is that he does things like takes over projects from other people, does them for them, and then says you were too incompetent to get it done. And often they're like, I was going to get it done fine, and that's true for the other parts too. Like, just like, give me that. It's just a lot of like, I'm going to like tear the silverware out of your hand so I can set the table perfectly. And then smugly be like, now you not only can you not be annoyed by me, but you owe me gratitude because I did it for you.
Yeah. How do you feel towards him?
I mean, I actually like getting to know him. Like I feel curious. I mean, I'm seeing him in different roles, and I don't know about depth, but I am seeing him come up in different places in my life. And he seemed like he would never submit to being understood, especially the competitive part. I mean, maybe the competitive part is who he is what he is,
But he's also saying that he's tired of that aspect of his job, let's say, and that it gets in the way of what he cares about, which is productivity.
Yeah. Although I wonder, unlike the Olympian who does get a lot of real things done in the world, I actually think that he may be just playing out this drama where he's better than other people, right?
Okay.
Like the table would have been set anyway, and it would have been set just fine.
Yeah.
But instead, he had to make this point about his superiority to other people. Like, you know, and that point just somehow needs to be always be making the point, you know, and that's not productivity. That's just wheel spinning, you know?
Yeah. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. Definitely does.
Me too. Let him know it makes sense and that he's still welcome. We're still curious.
Okay. Yeah. He's glad because, like, even he knows that he's, you know, he's not anybody's best friend, or he's not a like super jolly guy.
Yeah. Again, maybe you could ask more if he's willing to show you more, like what that's like for him.
Okay.
What it's like being him.
I mean, one thing is he's really, really responsive to self-energy. Like I know all parts are, but especially because he just feels like he can give up a lot of authority where there are most scenarios he won't let himself because he would lose too much face. But with self, he is willing to let his guard down a lot. So that's good. He just has some existential need to believe that he's made all the right decisions and not second guess himself, and you know, and just think every move he makes is right and correct and on it. And
you could ask him what he's afraid would happen if he didn't do that. I mean, I think this is coming up now partly because I just read a novel where this woman in her 70s was questioning all the way through the book. She refers to a decision she made in her 30s that really it doesn't seem like she has any doubts about it. And it's not it just seems like kind of was a beautiful, cool decision. And then she in surprise of the book, she starts wondering if that was the wrong decision or if she's allowed to have regrets about it, even though it worked out well. And suddenly it seemed to propose the possibility that my past decisions, while they worked out or they were right at the time or whatever, could also have been or have another side to them, or they shut down other possibilities, or they weren't made with entirely with self energy. And I just finished the book. I hadn't even really said this out loud, but when I read that moment, I was like, so if this part didn't have to keep winning, what it could do is say like, oh yeah, not my finest hour, or recognize that decisions, the parts figured into decisions, or that I was blended somewhat when I made some decisions, and not all decisions came from self energy. And this part is like, it doesn't feel like it would be as costly as he thought it would be to say that, at least about one or two things, Yeah. But that is one of his fears, is that fear of having regrets or just stopping to recognize that this wasn't my finest And
exactly. And just even having to admit he was wrong, or admit that
admit you were blended.
Right, exactly. Admit I was blended. Admit, that's it. Admit I was blended. Right,
okay.
right. He's like totally wants to win at IFS too.
Right.
Like, and be like, I'm never blended, and I'm
never blended.
Right, never blended. That's a good. And I just see him like writing in a ledger like crazy, like just like numbers and keeping score, and who made this decision or who made that decision, but so what he might dream of doing is being able, I guess the very, very slightly being able to like say this, the system was blended, or the system was not entirely self-led at crucial moments,
Yeah. And can we learn more about like what would be so bad about that? What is his big concern about admitting being blended, for example?
Well, like, this isn't quite an answer to that question, but so I told you my son is having trouble, and I often in life feel conflict with my ex-husband and competitiveness, like about who's a better parent. And my ex-husband is taking my son on a trip. They're in Texas right now, and I got a picture. My ex-husband sent a picture of my son, and my son, when he left our house, was like feeling pretty blue. He was very huggy and stuff, but he was pretty down. And in this picture, he just looks so relaxed and happy, and just in a way that I can tell how his shoulders are and how his smile is. He just looks like he's happy, And this part was quiet at that moment, pretty quiet at the moment when I looked at the picture, but it was there too, that I was like, I can't,
I can do better than he can.
Well, we're, the downside of that, which is just like, maybe I'm a total loser.
Yeah. Oh, call dropped. So we have found an exile. Feel towards. Very compassionate. I feel focused. I was looking to see if there are parts of me that are up. Not noticing much.
My gosh. Hi. Just that I can keep my ex-husband in the role of bad parent with enough mental gymnastics by this competitive part.
Because if not, then the feelings of being a total loser would come up.
Yeah.
Okay. So that all makes sense to you?
It seems like it's screening out a lot of evidence of defeat, by working overtime on its ledgers to be like, I know that looks like defeat, but.
Yeah.
It just seems intolerable. It's like a part that finds losing anything just intolerable. You know, like a kid that can't, can't lose. Bad loser. And
the feeling of feeling like a loser is what he's wanting to protect you from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does all make sense to you?
It definitely does.
Okay.
It definitely
does.
does.
Can you show him some appreciation for his intention?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I can.
How's he like the way that you've been with him so far?
He likes it. He likes it. I mean, he likes that it's understood that he's this scorekeeper person and not the Olympian, because I've just mistaken, I just have considered it all in this zone of overfunctioning, but just to realize that he's not actually functioning or like on the field. He's just like keeping stats and statistics and whatever and twisting things to make them like look better, or like cooking the books or something. And the work is so hard because he has to screen out or somehow make it look like there's never been any losses or setbacks.
Right. Yeah.
And he likes that we're seeing that specific part of his role, like that, as opposed to, I've misunderstood this side.
I think all protectors have an exile. Oh, Charlotte. Oh, hey, you're back.
Oh, yeah.
That was a quick one.
Yeah, I can't even explain. I don't know what it is.
It's okay. Protectors have exiles. I believe, and you can run this past him, I'm assuming that his exile is that feeling of being a loser, and what that's like for you and your system, and that his job is very well intentioned and he's good at it, although he's tired of it, which is cooking the books sometimes and keeping track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a revelation to think that like I could let in some evidence of defeat, of losses, even, or even of things that just were like outlier decisions that aren't really winning or losing. They're just kind of like a little bit eccentric or blended, or, and not just decisions, but I don't know, whole ways of being.
Yeah. And to let in those parts of you that are exiled, who themselves have experienced losses.
Right.
So we're not just, when we go to exiles, we're not just looking back on memories and trying to understand them or trying to refigure those statistics. We're going to parts. We're going to parts that were involved in those decisions, or parts that were suffering some loss, etc., and welcoming them.
The little hints I'm getting of the exile is that like that the exile is, I mean, I told you I like yelled "fuck you" and slammed the door last week, and that's close to this exile. This exile is like, because that was a perfect interaction between the protector and this exile, because the protector was trying to make the point that he had all this shit together and had worked all this stuff out and had done all the stuff right, and everything was buttoned up in the system. And then, when he felt like that was questioned, this like angry rage part came out and instantly proved that things were not all worked out, because that like exile part was just so furious and out of control and like mental patienty and kind of dangerous. And it's just everything that shows it was like the least enlightened, just like irredeemably not enlightened anger blended, just like, wow, she really has it together. Good thing she's done so much IFS work. She's like screaming and shutting doors like she's 17 or whatever.
Yeah. Do you remember when we went to that rageful part that was locked up?
Yeah. 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 This is the little like Tasmanian devil figure. Yeah, this is definitely close. And just right now there are more other parts around that are perceiving it differently. Like it doesn't feel very much like justified anger. It feels more like just embarrassing performance or something.
Right.
But it's very similar. I mean, it's just like pure rage. And also it's not repressed because I just expressed it in the world. It's not like it's for all to see. I mean, but that's not the whole of it.
This is the embarrassed part, talking about why we shouldn't go to that part because it's so one-dimensional and irredeemable.
I think actually there's something else, which is the emergence of this angry part, in spite of the protector's efforts to like hide it behind cookbooks and all this stuff. The emergence of the angry part, there's like a kind of third part present here, which is really the one that's like the like guy behind the curtain being Oz, like a kind of like just more like a loser, not the angry part, who is like embarrassed. It's like he's embarrassed by that display of anger, but he doesn't have anything else. It's just like just sitting sadly, sunken down.
Does the anger protect that part, protect those feelings?
Yeah. I think the anger is protecting. Yeah, it's not that's it. The anger is not so much an exile in this part, or maybe it's I don't know. Who knows?
So both the scorekeeper and the anger protect the part that feels like a loser.
Yeah.
Yep. How do you feel towards the part that feels like a loser?
A little bit of disdain and looking down on, because he just sort of seems like this pot-bellied little old man, or not old man, like middle-aged man, like feeling sorry for himself. I mean, maybe I'm like blending with the scorekeeper again, but just like, just get back in your box. We don't want, no one wants to hear from you.
Okay. Well, again, I'm guessing that is an exiled part.
Yeah.
And well, you know how IFS goes, and the kind of steps we would need to take to
unburden
help that part, unburden him. Yeah. You also have these other protectors here, including maybe some embarrassment, angry part, scorekeeper. So
the scorekeeper is very key, because for some reason that novel made me think like maybe the scorecard doesn't have to look perfect. Like he could acknowledge some more that part could acknowledge some setbacks and defeats and not try to reframe them all as like victories. It's just, that seems great to let him do that. And that means, talking to this defeated part. It's interesting because a lot of times when I'm just trying to get to the bottom of how I feel physically or emotionally, the word that comes up is defeated. And that is, like depression doesn't have to be defeated. Like defeated suggests that someone beat you, and won. And this guy's all about that. He's like, everyone knows I lost. And and we've done a lot to pretend we haven't, but right at the bottom is like, on the losing end of a lot of things.
Yeah. And you're trying to get to the bottom of how you're feeling, usually after some kind of event or when these other protectors are very busy. That's when you're saying, okay, what's going on here? And the sensation that you're noticing is coming from this part that does feel like a loser and feels like everyone knows it.
And everyone knows it. And the scorekeeper has been really fighting to make sure people don't know it. But then sometimes the exile has a horrible feeling that everyone's known it anyway, and that all that work has just been like, people have just behind our backs been like, that's not like, keep telling yourself that because we know the truth.
What does the scorekeeper think about your ability to go to parts and that direction? If like, hypothetically, if you were to go to this exile, does the scorekeeper see that as possibly helping him out?
Yes. And that's because of just the work we just did, where just understanding that he's actually not very productive and this is not a great use of time. It's just never ending because you can't make, any normal human mixed record in life look like it's the World Series every year, So winning the World Series every year. So it's just very tiring and very time consuming, but it's not actually productive. And for him,
and it doesn't solve this underlying problem.
And it doesn't solve this underlying problem, right? But the scorekeeper is seeing that, like, it would be nice. It'd be nice not to have to fake it, like to have like a regular card that was just like one loss, whatever, or like even captures the shades of like some things were sort of semi-successful. Just like, it just seems a lot easier to like assets and liabilities. Like there can be both, and that's okay, As for the defeated part, I mean, even talking to the protector is helping with the defeated part, because if he could have some of his defeats on the scorecard instead of just pretend like they don't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what an exile is. Their defeats have not been welcome in the system.
Right.
Their pains, their burdens, the things that suck for them aren't welcome.
Right. That's interesting because I was a little afraid that, for some reason, I was afraid that you were going to have me go to him and be like, "You're not a loser. You actually won." And that, in fact, that like, I don't know why I thought you'd say that, but that would just be, that's the whole problem. Is like, he just wants to be like.
Yeah. Well, it's the scorekeeper that's always saying, no, we won.
Yeah.
And that's what this part is sick of. This part that has felt defeat is tired of us, tired of being overshadowed by that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just wants to, wants to say, like, my ex did somehow, my son was happier in my ex's presence than in mine, like, and that's also fine. That doesn't have to be, we don't have to pretend anything, don't have to do anything about that.
Well, you also don't have to pretend like that feels fine. If that hurts, if something about that, if there is some pain around that, that's welcome.
Yeah, but I think this one more just is like, this one more just wants to be like, I lost. Can you just put that on the thing that I lost? Like, there are definitely parts that carry just pain and tears, but this one more carries like the legit record. Just like, like,
it wants you to acknowledge the losses and to weigh them or to balance them appropriately with the wins rather than skewing it.
Yes, like this one is also the part that's like, don't tell me that I look like I'm 30 years old. I'm 54. Like, it's not painful to be 54, but it's painful when people, when I feel like people have to lie.
So what's been coming up for me? I hope you're not just muted and listening to me there, Charlotte. No, you're gone. What's been coming up for me is my own timekeeper here and thinking we don't have time to do much with this exile, but really wanting to get it on the books.
Please edit this out.
Hey.
As you know, I'm very, very competent, as I told you. Yes. And I would never make an error, like drop off a Zoom call 100 times. Please
we talked about we talked about putting in minutes of quiet meditation, and you've delivered on that in a very efficient way. We don't have to negotiate it. It's just like, nope, we're having a break now.
Now, exactly.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Oh my God. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, this is good. It is good, especially because I really am not sure. It seems like a lot of the pain is relieved just by seeing like the keeper of the truth of the defeats,
Yes.
Like, even like this guy feels seen every time at work, like I do like some project with people and I'm in charge of it, and it, like, maybe that one doesn't work out as well as something else, and there's a person I trust at work who will be like, we didn't really do that one that well, right? And I feel just like a certain relief when he says that, because not everything can be fantastic. And
that person at work is the one that you like and trust.
Yeah, that person at work is the one we like. Right. I like and trust so much.
Right, because that's the person that is accepting of this part of you.
Yeah.
And is open about your real life, your real nature, which includes not always winning.
Not always winning. Yeah, I think actually, like, this guy is not like a loser or afraid of being a loser. He's just like the keeper of the real tally. And there's like too much PR, so that he's like, his frustration is just trying to be like seen for like, let the, I don't know if they're defeats or something, but like, just let them be seen. Like, everything you do is not perfect,
Yeah.
And that's
and he wants that to be seen. I'm wondering if a first thing to offer him is because obviously you have other parts that don't want that to be seen. That's
Right.
who we've been talking to.
Yeah.
I wonder if a negotiation for now can be to let you see those.
Yeah.
You know, and
That sounds
before
great.
we make those stakes about what other people need to see,
Right.
is letting self see those.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. There's like this project that I was just describing that, like, you know, whatever. It just had some it wasn't, you know, it wasn't perfect, and sort of being with that makes this guy feel good.
Right. And so I would not, you know, I'm not going to suggest that we attempt to go through the many stages of witnessing and unburdening this exile in this conversation.
Right. Yeah.
But you could just check out, like, does that feel like a good next step for you and your parts?
That sounds so relaxing. Like, even just going over like the holidays and just being like, well, that candy didn't arrive on time, so I didn't get the stocking stuffers. Like, I just feel like he would love if it's like he just wants to hear they're like reverse trophies or something to hand him. He would just be so happy to just say, that didn't work out. That didn't work out. That thing was expensive. That thing was mishandled. That seems really fun. It's like just
it's relaxing and emotionally connecting. And it also, like the scorekeeper or the other parts are saying, that can lead to more productivity, even just having that data, right?
Oh my God,
like,
exactly. Exactly. Right. We could close down the office of book cooking and just, you know, take the real measure of things. And that actually sounds surprisingly fun.
And just to be clear, I was referring to the data of the losses, and not just, you know, seeing them more clearly for, okay, what caused this? You know.
Oh, then right. It's not a question of just like accepting that's how it's going to be forever, but also maybe putting the protector to some more important work, actually making things better in the world, like ordering the candy earlier so that it's in time for the stockings, right? Instead of pretending that it was all perfect, because that's been taking a lot of energy. Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, I feel like instantly this feeling of calm and also play, thinking about kind of listing the things that went wrong over the holidays instead of, you know, just trying to tell myself over and over again that, like, I'm incredible. I pulled it off, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Is that something you want to plan now with this part of, like, how to, how, when, where to do that with it?
Yeah.
I'm happy to get you back on my schedule sooner than later if that will help, but
that would be, I mean, I will get on your schedule, but I actually want tonight to just make my list of like the top 10, the top 10 things, like just make it like almost like a ledger, just like the scorekeeper has. It's like, it's like just all the L's, you know, like,
that sounds great.
Thank you so much. I love it when there's like a fun seeming project that connects me with one of the parts. It's like, and when it just comes up automatically.
That's what we do here. Let that embarrassed part know. Let that embarrassed part know from earlier, the one that was worried that maybe we wouldn't get anywhere interesting or whatever. Or the, you know, the ones that are concerned about the call dropping, that I think we did a great job. And
I think also the defeated part is very happy to have me be like, how many times did I manage to screw up on the phone call and drop off it or mute it or whatever? Like, what was it, like 5? I don't know. I think I might need to say that it was 5. Or maybe you can tell me on Discord after how many it was for my reverse trophy. And thanks for your patience with that too, and for everything else.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm glad you're back. Thank you.
Me too. It feels really good. Feels good to be back doing this for sure.
Okay. Bye.
Have a good night. Bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.